Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, amigos y amigas. Welcome to Oye Dímelo Cinema Club. Tonight, I'm your host, Don Dino Spazzini, and we also have JP, we have Jason, and we have Desi Des. All right, for this week's pick, I picked The Trial of the Chicago 7. It's a film by Aaron Sorkin, directed by him as well, and it's got an amazing cast of characters. It's based off of the trials. Spoiler alert! It's in the title of that came after the riots in Chicago during the Democratic Convention in 1968, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's this crazy issue. Hopefully people know about it. I knew about the riots. That's something that comes up in history. I don't think it goes that much into details. So I knew a little bit about it. I lived in Chicago, so all things Chicago interest me, and historical things. And that's why I decided to pick this film. And it's Aaron Sorkin. So I was just, I feel like I just got into a Aaron Sorkin phase. And yeah, I wanted to see kind of what he did from this historical moment. Now, before we begin with first impressions, I would like to hear Jason's thoughts on what this film is about, since he life intervened and he wasn't able to see it. But knowing some history
Yeah, I
and
can't wait to
everything.
talk.
There you go.
I can't wait to talk about this movie.
He's been jumping on the bits. All right, Jason, your first impression of this film.
So I haven't seen the movie because I haven't had a chance to watch it. I guess I sort of thought that it would be a historical drama. I had only seen the trailer for it. My first impression is my only impression was the cast list. The cast list looks very impressive. Like, not knowing what this movie is about, I totally would watch this with all these hitters in this movie. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of reminds me of like 12 Angry Men or something. It's like a courtroom drama with all these actors doing acting stuff. So it probably reads like a play, I would imagine. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to watching it. What do you think?
It's interesting you said like a play, because I feel like Aaron Sorkin, everything he comes from a theater background, so everything is kind of play wise. This is, again, same thing with 12 Angry Men. This could be a stage show, with a little edits here and there, and you could make it all just be part of the court, or all be part of the different offices or whatever. My first impression is, I loved it. I was really impressed by Sacha Baron Cohen, and just the writing was great. It's, again, one of those films that came out now. It wasn't like rushed to do. What's the word where there's a word about? There's historification, right? Where you use certain points in history to critique or show other points. Usually modern time, you use something in the history to kind of talk about what is currently going on, which is kind of what I feel this ends up being, just for the fact that this year there have been so many different protests, peaceful protests, that then have been turned into riots, and have also been focused on that kind of issue. And I feel like this movie, even though it's based in 1968, 1969, it's sad that a lot of the things that we see in the film are still happening today. And it's 100 years of solitude, in the sense that everything repeats itself. And sadly, I don't know when it's going to stop. It feels like what we saw in that film, what we've seen throughout 2020, it ain't going to stop anytime soon. That's my prediction. You heard it here first, guys. It's going to be throughout our lifetimes, this is still going to repeat itself. So that's my first impression, is I love the film because it's very current. It's something that happened in 1968, and it's still current till this day. And it's just one of those things that encompasses not just like social activism, but it also deals a little bit with elections, and that's what we're dealing with right now. So that's my first impression. JP?
Yeah, it's definitely not a Henry Fonda movie for sure. But no, it was weird because I was in the mindset of that happening because I've seen I don't know, I'm not a big fan of courtroom dramas. They all seem the same, but that's just me being silly and all. But this one, for sure, I was surprised at how, yes, it does have funny people in it, but I was surprised at how much humor was actually in this film. I definitely wasn't expecting it to be humorous, but real at the same time. Part of the humor is that this is so very much real, and I couldn't help but feel that during the movie. It's wow, this literally could have happened this past summer. All this is basically especially when you see the flashbacks towards what happened at the riots and at the protests, and also the whole on the left side of things, what is our political revolution versus what is our cultural revolution. And even now, that's still butting heads today, where it's such a problem that nothing gets done. And still today, not much is getting done. Sure, we gotten a little bit better and closer to what we want compared to the early 70s, but it's definitely not there ideally, you know what I mean? But no, this film is just it's really great. It's good. The ensemble, completely awesome. There's not really much to say negatively about the film except for I do not envy Eddie Redmayne's throat because I can't imagine him actually enjoying doing the voice that he did. For some reason I feel man, he must be stressing doing this American voice right now. But I'm sure he's chill. But yeah, no, it was pretty great movie all around.
Nice. Senor Desiree.
Des right here. All right, first impression. This movie was absolutely trash. I'm kidding. I'm joking. It's just
I would
it's just
expect
a recurring
nothing
theme.
more. Yeah.
But no, this movie was actually, I gotta say, I'm not really a movie watcher person outside of a club, but this is by far, in my opinion, one of the most important films that Netflix has financed. Because to me, this movie not only is extremely factual, it shows it's just so much range. The cast is unbelievable. The acting is absolutely amazing. Every single person knocked it out of the park. Even random people that I never seen acting before were oh my God, who's this guy? Who's this actor? He just killed it. That hippie guy that was Sacha Baron Cohen really impressed me for sure. But that hippie guy that was his sidekick or whatever, or his next whatever, I never seen. I don't know who that guy
Ruben.
is. And that guy killed it. That guy, oh my God. Michael Keaton killed it. Freaking the dude from 500 Days of Summer, Jason Gordon-Levitt. Oh my geez. And the opening reminded me, and the movie overall, but the openings particular really remind me of a play. So I also had that thought in my head of oh, this is very much like a play, the way that it's structured, it has that whole, I don't know, maybe Hamilton, a little bit of Hamilton in it, but it integrates each character really well. The way it was done, that it was cutting a word and then substituting, kind of like Austin Powers, that whole bit of the wiener at the end or whatever, that they just cut to different people. But here they were cutting to the actual characters that were going to be part of the trial. Um, and I love how they use flashbacks in this movie. It was extreme. Like I didn't feel lost. Like everything felt like it had a purpose and it moved the story forward. It also, the one thing that I did appreciate about this movie, because yeah, like JP said, like typically like court scenes are not so fun. They're like very monotonous or whatever, or they have like the same kind of thing. But what I appreciate about this particular film is that, at least for me, it gave me like the fly in the wall perspective of like how the game of being in a US Supreme Court or whatever is played. Like this felt very gamey, like it's like the judge is like the dad that like whatever he says goes. And then they got to convince the jury a certain way to make people feel like, at first I was like, immediately I was like, why is like Sacha Baron Cohen and his friend or whatever like performing stand up? But then I got it. It's like you gotta present yourself in a way so the jury like sees you as a likable person, not like a criminal or whatever. And there were little moments here that the only moment that I got lost, but then I caught it later, was when the one dude, the white guy, stood up and everybody was looking at him like, yo, why are you standing up? When everybody stood up, that was the one part that I didn't get immediately, but afterwards I got the point. But anyway, first impressions, this movie is superb. It's amazing. This will definitely be something I will rewatch for multiple purposes, not only for cinematography, for acting, but for context too. Like it's really, I love how truthful this movie was. That's something that I really appreciate, because Hollywood tends to like fluff it up with other stuff, but this felt very real. And even the scenes that were like really awful and very violent and all that stuff, like it felt real to me, especially because they contrasted it with like with real footage as well. They were like just flashing little things here and there. So those were my first initial thoughts. And by the way, Naomi is here.
Yeah. What up,
What,
guys?
what? Pew, pew,
I'm
pew,
back
pew.
in. What it do? I miss you.
All right. So Naomi, the film we just watched was Gangs of New York. What was your first impression of that?
Shut up. Well, Cameron Diaz does a great job being a hooker.
Lockney actually did a great job.
I live next to a motel, guys. I see it every day.
Nice. All right. Great to see you, Naomi. It's been a while. Yeah, we were just doing our first impressions of the trial of the Chicago 777, the Magnificent Seven. That's from the cowboy movie, if you've ever seen it. But anyway. So yeah, what were your first impressions for that?
First impressions. I enjoyed it. Well, hi. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I just finished watching it. My first impression, I like the fashion designer that came out in it. She did a good job in the 60s era this was based in. I like every movie that gives like a first segment of history in the beginning. So that was good for me. I'm like, hey, I didn't know what was happening. And then there was like lottery bingo and people were getting called out in Vietnam. And I'm like, wait, that was happening. It reminds me of lottery that I'm selling at the liquor store right now. So it's just like, what the fuck, you guys? So anyways, I enjoyed it. So I just want to chat with you guys and see what's up, or like initial thoughts.
Nice.
And that was more initial thoughts. I can't progress. I just missed y'all.
All right. Okay. So one of my I'll jump into this. So I was really interested in this because of Aaron Sorkin. Have you guys seen any of his work before? I mean, The West Wing, The Newsroom, stuff like A Few Good Men. Are you guys Are you guys familiar with some of his work at all, or was this kind of the first time watching one of his shows or movie, if you will?
So I only, just based on what you've said, because I'm not really like a person that connects too much titles with directors or people or things like that, but just based on what you said, I did see a couple episodes of The Newsroom. And the one thing I can definitely see the correlation with The Newsroom were like the intense dialogue scenes, like that, like initial scene that Joseph Gordon-Levitt has. That's super Aaron Sorkin. Like I felt like his writing right there, his directing in that scene. But yeah.
He also, so this is only the second film he's actually directed. Everything before, he's only done like screenplays and, you know, creator of shows and stuff like that. He also wrote The Social Network. Molly's Game was the first movie that he directed. Anyone else feels they've seen some of his work before? Or
I didn't know that he directed this movie until I looked just before we started, which is, you know, I didn't even know he directed Molly's Game, but I love Aaron Sorkin, man. I love his dialogue. One of my favorite things he ever did was just a show that got canceled after the first season called Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, which was basically supposed to be like SNL and all the political stuff that goes on backstage to get your sketch on SNL and dealing with the network and power conglomerates and, you know, like all that stuff, their families, you know. And I was like, oh man, this is like the West Wing. And it was so good. I was like, I'm going to watch a show about backstage at a TV show. And it's incredible. And then it descended into nonsense after like the first or second episode because he had stopped writing. He only wrote the pilot. But yeah, I love Sorkin. I wish I would have watched the West Wing because I just love the way that those, you know, how he just makes people interact with each other. It's always this high stress situation, but he kind of takes the veil away and turns everybody into like real people who are like wisecracking and have things to say, but they're very focused and everybody's very smart.
I saw an interview with him recently. He also did a masterclass. So if anyone has that password and would like to share it with everyone, but he talks about like the characters, no matter how evil or we might think they are, or they actually are, he said that he writes them and he only thinks of if that person is at the pearly gates, what is he going to say to try to get in there, right? So everything is kind of in that court, I guess, and judge kind of mind, where even he, you know, I don't think he didn't necessarily say Hitler, but just to point out, like, if Hitler makes it to the pearly gates, it's like, I need to be let into heaven because. So it's that kind of creating some sort of empathy and just of trying to understand the certain characters and why they might do certain things. The West Wing was great, especially he left after a while, but that's something that I did watch for a while as well because I had heard so much about it. I was in Paraguay when it was really running, so I took some time to actually watch a few of the seasons. And yeah, it's really interesting because he really enjoys looking into, I don't know if it's investigating the American institutions, you know, or and just kind of like checking out the constitutions and what works and what doesn't work. At least that's a feeling of him. All his movies are somewhat related into the different parts of American dream, if you will, and what is allowed and what is not allowed. So yeah, watching this film with him makes me want to watch some of the other things that, you know, he's done that I haven't seen, right? But of course, you know, The Social Network, For a Few Good Men, I mean, Jack Nicholson in that, right? That was his first film, was A Few Good Men. So that just kind of tells you how he just came out of nowhere. And I mean, and just right out of the park. Like, it was A Few Good Men that he was writing while apparently bartending at a Broadway theater. And like he would write that on cocktail napkins, is what he said. So it starts with legal dramas, but just like it's so greatly dialogue heavy, and it's really well done. And I think because he focuses on the characters, and each one having to make, you know, his case to be led into heaven, if you will, if you believe in that, makes everything so much richer, right? Because he could easily be like, oh, these are Nixon people, oh, these are bureaucrats, oh, these are fascists, oh, these are racists. But no, he writes each character and kind of allows us as the audience to kind of make our own judgment on the people that are on screen. And I think JP had maybe mentioned that about or someone brought up Hollywood, you know, turning historical films or courtroom, and Hollywood tends to make it, you know, sprinkle too much Hollywood things in there, and that strips away from the reality or the
Hollywood glitter.
Yeah, Hollywood glitter. It's all over in the air, right? In Hollywood. Anyway, so that being,
weed.
yeah, it's a weed. Oh, is that what it is? Hollywood glitter is just a combination of weed smoke and cocaine dust.
Exactly.
Hey, you got some of that Hollywood glitter? So, which way do I want to go first? All right, I brought up Sacha Baron Cohen. And Steve brought up what's his face? He's Jeremy Strong played Jerry Rubin, who Jeremy Strong is also in Succession, and he's also in The Big Short and a bunch of other. Which until I looked it up, I had no idea that was him. But with that beard and that hairdo, like I would have never guessed that was him. Do people have a favorite character or performer, or maybe this is like this character I think was great, but I was really surprised this performer was in it. So I'll go first real quick. Sacha Baron Cohen I think is really underrated because, you know, when he does so much kind of tongue-in-cheek or you know, Borat or all these other characters, he's easily just labeled as his comedian and all that, but he definitely has way more skill, which you gotta also think about it too. Like him doing Borat and stuff like that, he can't drop the character. It's not, you know, the characters that he does, comedic or not, he doesn't drop them. So I think he did a great job. And then Michael Keaton also really surprised me. I'm glad I didn't like take a look at the cast list before watching it, because I just kept getting surprised, like very pleasantly surprised, like, oh my God, it's this guy. Or, oh my God, look at him. Like, he's great in this part. So that's, yeah, those are some of the characters and actors that I really enjoyed. Yeah.
I underestimate. Ooh.
Yeah, you underestimated?
Sarah Barat. I actually giggled when I saw it was him in the thing, and I'm like, hey, is it gonna be good? Is it gonna be comedic? Yet it kind of was. So I underestimated his character. I expected like accent, but he actually doesn't have an accent. I'm like, wait, that's English. So he did a good job. I underestimated.
He has an accent to me in the movie. Isn't it like a New York or Brooklyn or something?
I didn't hear it. I just heard English.
To me, it sounded like European.
Oh,
Like,
no, it wasn't European or Jewish. Is that an accent? I thought it was some place in New York. Is
He has and like yeah, when you find out later in the film that he does have Jewish descent, like it totally makes part of his vernacular. But yeah, I couldn't hear anything that I guess one will quote is foreign to the U.S. I definitely heard very much New England or like Northeast Coast. So like same thing like New York and Jersey, you know?
Yeah.
New England to me.
I didn't hear it. I didn't recognize it.
You didn't recognize, so that's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you enjoyed. I mean,
his character. I mean, like in the real person was ballsy, you know. So I felt he portrayed that very well. I'm like, I got goosebumps when I heard him like just like stand up for himself in the middle of the judge, like really like he was intellectual enough to know how to talk to the judge, but yet again be still disrespectful. You know, like I don't know. I don't know, that character in real life was amazing, and Sarah's Borat did a good job portraying him. Because you know,
I think his name is Sarsha.
Sarsha
Borat Cohen.
Maurice Roman.
That's my take.
JP.
Oh yeah, like it's like I'm just gonna be the third person to say it. Like he definitely stole the show, like Sacha Baron Cohen's character, and like he's kind of like the one that I guess like most average folks would probably root for, because like Eddie Redmayne's character, you find out like later on in the film, like he's somewhat hypocritical. He's very much like the clean coat, very political. In fact, in history, he ends up actually holding an office, for like 7 or 6
terms,
which like it totally shows. But like the one character that I was actually kind of surprised at was David Dillinger, played by John Carroll Lynch. Like because like his story, his is probably the most grounded out of everybody. He's only doing this because he believes it is right, and he's the only one that we get to see that he has family. Like everyone else, they're doing this for a cause, but we get to see he's doing this not only for a cause, but he has family to think about as well. And it's funny how even his story, like it's only in bits, but at least he just like every other character, which I was surprised that he does have a through line. Like you see his son and his wife in court watching him going through all this, and even the moment where he punches one of the bailiffs, right? Like which was totally out of left out. I'm sure I don't know if it happened in real life, but like when you see his character and how his demeanor is like out of nowhere, and you have to feel for the guys. Like wow, he really did not mean to do that. He's so mild mannered, and for something to bug him is like wow, this is getting pretty heavy. If he also had to succumb to like the raw emotion of like the heavy burden of this trial, right? And like, it's just nice to see his character, because you get to be kind of grounded with him, and you kind of realize, shit's hitting the fan. If even like the most calm person in the room is like, man, fuck this noise too. So yeah, his character and I just want to say, I'm sure we're gonna talk about him as well. The guy who played Bobby Seale, the guy who was
I'm glad you brought it up, because I was gonna bring that up next. So after
I think every moment with him, he had like the strongest performance.
Right.
Like everyone has that moment where like, wow, that was pretty strong. But like every time he says something, or every time there's a scene with him, like his scene with the lawyer and Eddie Redmayne in the prison when they tell him like, hey, your buddy was killed. Like, that was so fucking powerful. Like him saying like, are you doing this because you're just rebelling against your parents? To be honest, like let's be real. Like, are you doing this because mommy and daddy, they're just too traditional? Well, that's nothing compared to the shit that I have to go through every day. And it's it cuts really hard. And that guy, like, I guess historically speaking, he's only there for a short period of time. But I was like, I was hoping to see him again in the film.
But I mean, well, yeah. So Steve, did you? I know you brought up one of the characters before, or actors. Did you have another actor you wanted to talk about, or we can go into kind of the Black Panther?
I mean, I definitely want to shout out a couple characters that might be
Yeah.
under the radar.
Yeah,
I
go
agree
for
with. I mean, everybody here did so good, man. Even the extras. I was like, man,
Yeah.
whoever handled the
Number
extras,
6?
bro.
Number
I-
6.
I believe
thought-
that clapping. I believe that clapping looks real, guys. That clapping looks real.
Bro,
Go for
people were cheering. They were like, cheer like we're going to catering, and they were like, yeah. Ah.
Cheer like they're signing overtime. You guys are getting us extra smoke
get-
break in
you
your
get it-
in your paycheck.
You're getting that web bump and that 16-hour rule. No, but basically some of the characters that fell under the radar that might not get mentioned. I mean, one, definitely the Black Panther dude, not the guy that was assisting the guy, but the guy that was actually on trial.
Yeah.
I love how they represented that. Like his little arc in the story, because he just got thrown in with these people that he had nothing to do with. And
Ow.
then they treated him like shit, bro. And he was just trying to defend himself. And the fact that, unlike millions of Hollywood movies, that the black guy that's here gets killed, you know, this dude, spoiler alert, gets a mistrial, which is awesome.
But the
but-
only
but-
person that gets killed is a black guy. So the first and only person killed in the movie is black.
That's true.
That was
That is
announced.
true. But a lot of white people did get hit in those protests. So at
Okay.
least it evens out.
A lot
you
of
know,
people
somewhat.
a lot of white people getting hit over the head with a billy club, and one person getting assassinated by the police and FBI. Got it. And that balances each other out.
It balances the.
There's
the playing
another
field.
film of this, right? This is like a second version, something like that, right?
This is a sequel. It was to the Trial of the Chicago Six. Was the first one. I don't.
Did I miss
I
that?
don't know. I
It-
don't know.
This
Comes
is
up-
a
I don't know.
this is a follow up to the Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
The Trial of Ocean's 11.
Anyway,
Trial of
sorry,
Django.
Steve.
So anyhow, the other two characters, I forgot the other one that I was gonna say. Oh, oh my god, the lawyer, the dude
Yeah.
that wasn't representing the black guy.
Kunstler, which is a great name also. Kunstler. I was like, whoa, what are you calling him? Kunstler. I was like, all right, go for it.
Like he killed it. Oh my god, he killed it. And then the other two characters that are can go under the radar was the hippie guy that was accompanying Sacha Baron Cohen,
Yeah.
and the undercover cop that played the girl.
Yeah, the lady. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
I was like, that kept me, that like got me thinking, like, yo, how many cops are there like in the world right now pretending to be a completely different person they're not, just to get someone trapped? Like, that's really fucked up.
So apparently her character is made up, but it makes sense, right? This is theater, this is entertainment, so you definitely. But there was multiple police or FBI agents infiltrating all these different groups, you know, and including famously the Black Panthers, right? Like that's, you know, same, all these different groups, Malcolm X, like everyone, the FBI pretty much infiltrated all of them, you know, at their height. But yeah, I thought her character was done. Yeah, they made his character, Ruben, come out way like stoner dude and like dumb. But, you know, again, for a movie, you gotta pick and choose. Like, all right, we need to have certain characters come out this way and
They were called the
other.
Yippies, for God's sake.
Yeah.
He knew that he was second to Sasha, so he played that role very well. Like he knew.
Historically, he dropped some knowledge also. You know, like he was pretty smart also. Anyone else, Steve?
No diss. I'm just don't know.
No, I will say I'm glad you brought up the lawyer, the main lawyer, the old dude. Is Mark Rylance is the actor, the William Kunstler, and his hair, like, yeah, wardrobe, hair was amazing in this film, but I was like, what is going on with his hair? It was this weird, like, I'm losing my hair, but I'm not, but I have it long because it's the 60s.
It's called a Trump, bro.
It's called the Trump. Anyway, but it was great. So I do wish. So this is the thing, right? Bobby Seale, who was the leader of the Black Panthers. What state was it, or was he the one in charge of the national Black Panthers, or was he from a different state only? I can't remember, but yeah, there needs to be. This is my only. It's not my only. It's not a qualm, but it's like I wish more films come out that deal with Black Panthers and kind of what they dealt with, right? Because clearly this film, it has, the Chicago 7 are all white, right? And so you can see like, oh man, clearly this was the government trying to take advantage and trying to reprimand.
Didn't they say he was there for 4 hours? The film.
Yeah. He
was there for 4 hours. Yeah, they're fucking shady ass motherfuckers doing that.
So I'm glad they brought that up. I'm glad that they brought up the prison cell scene when they informed him and they said there was a shootout, and that he actually informs the lawyer and Romaine, like the lettuce, I believe is how you pronounce it, right? Romaine lettuce, that, that actually he was shot. And, it came out way later that he was basically shot while he was in bed, right? Like that was so easily that we hear over and over again that there was a shootout, whatever. And it's very reminiscent to Breonna Taylor, right? They go in, supposedly a search warrant or whatever, and then there's a shootout. So to me, when I heard that situation, I was just thinking of the whole Breonna Taylor case. And that's why I'm like, this just keeps happening over and over again. So I wish they would, someone comes up with, films, because I think this is a very good way to bring out, to teach, right? It's entertainment, but it's educational. And then at this moment, we have these where you can search and research, like, oh my God, is this true? Oh my God, did this happen? Who were these people? These were really people? Like, a judge literally got one of the people in his court beat up and gagged, like, and restrained to that extent, which that happened. So like stuff like that.
That's crazy. That was really insane. That's when I went like, the judge is like daddy.
Yeah.
And he got his little minions that they do whatever they want. This dude was like, yo, shut the fuck up. Come on. I'm gonna charge you what's that called? The thing he
contempt.
was contempt. He was just giving contempts to everybody. You gotta contempt. You gotta contempt, motherfucker.
He was Oprah. He was Oprah.
It was like,
you gotta contempt. And you gotta contempt. So
she's an Aquarius. Just gotta shut that out. She's an Aquarius.
What?
I don't know.
Oprah is an Aquarius?
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
So I'm glad they brought that out, right? Because again, if we bring in Hollywood or whatever, so easily it can be whitewashed. But I'm glad that that Aaron Sorkin just like put it out there from the very beginning. They have this black person for the sole fact that they want to make you guys look scarier, right? Like everything, they were just flat over the head. Like let's call it what it is. Which that didn't exactly. I don't know if that was called out like that back then.
Well, now but I'm glad you brought out the making an individual look frightening or whatever.
Yeah.
They did this special tactic where they got number 6. Like I like the wardrobe, and I noticed that girl's wardrobe, and I'm like, she's gonna be important for some fucking goddamn reason.
Oh, really?
She's gonna be important just by looking at her clothes. I don't know. I have this thing.
But wait, before she got brought in, you notice her just as...
I remember there was a still shot where she was captured. I'm like, hey, why does her wardrobe look specific?
Oh, wow.
There was like an extra lighting. I don't know. That's something that caught my eye. So then I'm like, this is going to be a special moment. And then this bitch became number 6. And I'm like, okay, so they try to create fright because she kept nodding her head and they were talking in like in the dining room.
Yeah.
You know, no. They were discussing the hablando sobre number 6 seems to be in our side.
Yeah.
So there's obviously other people in the courtroom watching this shit go down. They're gonna be like, let's absorb like who's not a weak person, but someone who's showing more attention. You know what I'm saying? To the like who we're accusing or whatever. So I don't know. That was my intake. So they tried to create this fear philosophy of her being afraid of her family getting attacked by a fucking letter, you know, so that means she's a victim, you know, so that's all I wanted to bring up. I'm sorry.
No. I'm glad. I noticed when they talked about juror 6 and 11 that it's like, oh yeah, they're on our side, and they mentioned why, and then those were the 2 jurors that got replaced. And I love this idea because, you know, coming from Paraguay, like there have been times like the vice president in Paraguay in '99 got assassinated, and they blamed it on this general. And then one of the reasons why they said it was the general is because the people that they saw that assassinated the vice president had on camel pants and military boots, and so they're like, clearly it's got to be the general. Which in my mind, why would you, like in my mind, going there to my case in Paraguay, it's like, if you're killing someone, you want to change your clothes at least. And so it was the same thing that the lawyer brought up, like, at what point, if the Black Panthers are trying to intimidate and scare people, are they going to sign a letter saying, hey, sincerely, the Panthers? Right? It's
if
this
the
idea.
Themselves were already frightening. No, they're fucking not. They're fucking what? Berets. They're
Yeah.
They come from like the French or whatever, you know. Like what the fuck? I don't know. I just wanted to shut that out.
No. But I'm glad, right? But that's a thing that historically, every time they bring it up, it's like, oh, it's got to be this group of people, and it's like.
The thing is, no one's intimidating. I feel like just the ideas that we're embedded by each individual that raises us, or you know, I don't know, pretty faded you guys.
Well, no, but no, I'm glad you bring it up because also with the Black Panther, I mean, they started as a form of security and feeding the kids in the neighborhood. Like that's how they started.
Yeah, thanks to them, I was actually fed for 12 years of my life LAUSD up in this fucking house, you know?
Well, there you go. And yeah, and I think, so again, I'm really glad they brought that up. And of course, once there was that mistrial, it's like he never appeared anymore. And it would be nice to maybe see more of that world be brought up.
Now, real quick, since we're in this topic, did historically that happen, that the character of Joseph Gordon-Levitt was kind of like the one talking out his thing?
As in, I'm not like him asking for a mistrial.
That's the only thing that I think that's a little bit of that Hollywood glitter on it. Just because I was like, the opposition goes and speaks to the judge to try to like basically get him out when he was having such a tough time by himself. That was the only part that I was like, maybe that's not completely accurate how it happened, but definitely the part that they beat the fuck out of him and stuff like that. Like I was like, oh yeah, that happened for sure.
I know the gagging and all that did happen. Of the Gordon-Levitt, exactly how he exactly what he did, I'm not entirely sure.
We'll get the transcripts.
Yeah, I mean it's there, right?
Yes, on the record.
Anyway, but yeah, again, there are a lot of things that, especially for a movie, and if you try to keep it to just like 2 hours and condense it to a trial. Abby Hoffman has a comedy record, by the way. So like that stuff that you were saying that, oh, was he doing stand up? Like the actual Abby Hoffman was doing that. And I guess he actually recorded one album. And
the judge, speaking of the Hoffman last name, was so on a power trip that this motherfucker had the same last name as him. Did y'all see that? Like, that's a power trip right there. Like, I think he's another underestimated character in this film to like be that so arrogant judge, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Hey, what was this movie about for real? But there's like it really this how do I fit it as say did they start this riot for real? They started this? They didn't? Or was it just like driven by the police? Like the recent
come
riot?
on, it was the police. It was Daley. It was Mayor Daley. He was a racist,
You
and
mean
like
the district attorney also?
Mayor Daley in Chicago was connected to the mob. And so in the 60s, Mayor Daley ran everything. So Mayor Daley was wanting, because a Democratic convention was going to be there, he wanted everything to go through him. So it kind of starts there. And, and Bobby Kennedy was assassinated and all these other things. And so people came to protest, and it was just ripe. Again, it's like people are coming to protest and you already have a militarized police waiting for you. Like, there's no way that shit isn't going to go south, right? And that, yeah, so
Okay.
there's that. There's also the idea, right, that people say like, well, it was very segregated in the South, and in the North there was no issue. No, Chicago, very segregated during Daley. And even when I went there, I mean, it was clearly there was North Side Chicago and there was South Side Chicago. And it was, so.
Also, you don't remember pre-pandemic that all this stuff was happening around the world, like almost at the same time? Like people were like protesting everywhere, and there were like mad cops rioting, like it's literally
Starting riots.
Yeah, starting riots because they were
People
with
forget
weapons.
that.
Yeah,
Well,
and that
Ferguson or which one?
No, I'm talking about like it was happening in the States, it was happening in Spain, it was happening in Chile, it was happening like literally like back to back. Like this was something that literally was happening. Maybe people would just forget too quick, but literally this was happening pre-pandemic. That there were all these protests happening globally, and
Mexico
the same.
protesting for female genocide. That shit was hard to see. I'm like, whoa. Anyways, go back. Sorry.
But yeah, so it was a full down beatdown. A full down beatdown. I don't think that's proper English at all.
Yeah,
but
I get it. I get it.
Thank you. So yeah, shit hit the fan. Like this is the Democratic Convention of '68 in Chicago is something that is still brought up as just like the biggest shit show ever. And just, yeah. And all that kind of was, connected to, Bobby Kennedy being assassinated as well. And like, just, it was hell. It was horrible. And I mean, and there were riots and there were people beat and arrested and all that. So, and again, you have these people, like you have a group of people called the Yippies that are going to go and try to assault and create riots. Like,
Your name is
And-
very intimidating. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so yeah. So I don't know where I was going with that, but it's things that happen. And again, I think I got a pretty good education going to an American school overseas, just because we had history. We ended up getting two degrees. What for the Paraguayan government and for the American government, 2 high school diplomas. So it allowed to a lot of times get the history told from different perspectives. So I learned some of this, but not to the extent that we saw here in the film. And then from seeing it, I've gone and researched a little bit more and stuff like that. So that's why I think this movie is really good, because it's based heavily on facts, and people can go and they can see the trial, and just stuff like the judge got a vote of no confidence or whatever, like by over 70% of other judges or lawyers. Like it's pretty ridiculous how flat out blatantly racist and just the system was back in the day. And again, it still is. Not much has changed. I think if anything, it's been finessed, if that makes sense. All right. Any other, I guess before we go into final thoughts, is there anything else anyone would like to bring up that I might have not brought up as a topic or question? Did you hear that, Naomi?
Yeah, I heard that. I'm looking for my needle. I think.
Don't do it, Naomi. Don't do it.
No,
you have so much to live for.
Sewing, I swear. I'm sewing this little bear.
Oh, I thought maybe you were sewing the logo of the Trial of the Chicago 7 or something like that. like you have one for every movie review we've done.
That would be cool. That would be cool, but no, that's too much handwork. I need my hands to draw. Anyways, yeah, I like the logo on it, to be honest. It's forward thinking, just on the layout of the context. So I was like, this is made today. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it is. It's on Netflix. I thought it was like in 2016 when I first saw it. And I'm like, hey, no, this is another movie. I'm confusing it. So I don't know. The logo looks futuristic. That's all I have to say.
Okay, nice. All right, so let's go into final thoughts. Jason, after seeing all this, what's your final thoughts of the movie or our review, if you will?
Sounds really great. Sounds like something I want to watch. So I'm gonna go for it, guys. I'm gonna give it a shot.
Wait. Did you not watch this?
I did not.
What the hell? Why?
No. I just didn't have time to watch it, but I don't really have much to do at this moment, so I just want to hear what you guys thought about it.
Oh, okay. Well,
but you guys told me.
There you go. Okay. Nothing else to say. Let's roll the tape and roll credits. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try and do it sweet. I really enjoyed the film. Again, just to reiterate I think Aaron Sorkin has a great future. I think he really has found his voice. And I recommend this film to anyone, right? I think it's one that he'd been wanting to do for a while, if I'm not mistaken. And he's someone so intelligent that I think was trying to make it on a year of during the election, just because so much is motivated by that when powers change. And so this is a film that, oh boy, in our current political climate, makes sense. And 2 years from now, when there are elections, it's probably going to still make sense. And in 4 years, it's probably like, it still makes sense. And hopefully, one day, this will be so foreign to us. Hopefully, I hope one day we can look at this film and be like, man, the past was whack. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I think the acting was great. The dialogue, the writing was great. And overall, I hope this, if anything, gets nominated for a bunch of things. So that's me. Final thoughts. JP?
For sure, no, it's like it's a really good film to like watch to see how, because it does see the ugly side of American history, and like I knew of, you know, that stuff that happened before, but like we said before, like it's known as like basically a shit show of a trial, like, but like you get to see the nitty gritty and like what kind of most likely went down during that time. So I would definitely recommend it for people who are either both those who don't know the history and both who actually do, you know, because it's a good movie to watch and learn. It's a good way to educate yourself, but also be entertained, because like you do see the perspectives of everybody, even those who are on their side, but you still see the conflict within like people who happen to agree with each other, but they want to approach something differently. And like, yeah, like it's still prevalent now, and you could take that as both a negative and a positive, because you know I do believe, like I said before, like we're taking steps forward, but they're just really incredibly small steps. But yeah, no, and also like it's just overall a great, powerful movie. Like the ensemble, I'm sure there's literally there's no weak person in the ensemble. There's no one I could say, oh well, they did a crap job. Or like, oh, they seem totally out of place. No, it was completely great. It was good. It's just an overall 10 out of 10. Yeah.
10 out of 10. Woo! JP doesn't throw those 10s very often, guys.
And this is for I was actually not excited to watch, to be honest. I was like, man, I don't like these types of court dramas, but like it was definitely more than that, and it was great.
Nice. Yeah, I thought they broke it up really well from taking, getting out of there and stuff like that, seeing a little bit of the world around them. Steve?
All righty. I agree as well with JP. This movie, again, is one, if not the best film that I've seen of Netflix.
Damn, and very high praise.
Super high price. And I think honestly, if Hollywood moves more towards this direction, which is more like doing a little bit of more factual things, I think honestly, this could help in a way alleviate a very, very, very sore spot that education has. Especially when kids don't want to be like really be reading about this stuff. And even if they read it, they don't really get it. But if they see it in a film with all those visuals and all those things, is easier to understand and to process even better. Because I legit had no idea about this trial until I saw this movie. And now I feel like I know more and I'm more educated and I want to find out more and I want to read about it more. And that's how you truly pique someone's interest, is through a masterpiece of a film like this one. Lots of theater vibes. Me coming from a theater background, I love it. It's great. Extremely intense dialogue scenes. The flashbacks were used tremendously. I didn't feel lost or anything. And the ensemble is absolutely amazing. Like, everybody killed it. I don't think there was, if there was someone that did bad acting, it would have really stood out, just because there's so much great acting here. And yeah, definitely recommend it. Definitely will recommend it, and definitely will rewatch it too.
I agree with you on that educational part. So I didn't know the basis of this movie. So my niece was in the room, and there was the riots began, the take the hill part. So she's like, seriously? And then I'm like, oh shit. And then the bang of the head happened. So then I'm like, fuck, I have to explain movie editing right now. So basically, I paused the movie and I'm like, look, Eileen, this is how it goes down. There, you see the camera? Pretend I grabbed a pencil. Okay, maybe I use my battery vape. I'm like, you pretend this is the camera, and I'm like, you see this hole? That's where the camera lens is. So they captured it. Then they went like this. Then they turned it off. Then they put the ketchup, and then like I was trying to break it down to her, for a 5-year-old. So I'm like, but this happened in real life. Although these people are acting, Eileen, this is how it goes down in history, and sometimes people make movies out of it. So
how is that not? How do you not have a YouTube show of explaining kids things? Because that I could watch you just try to like. All right. Well,
I don't. I'm an on. There's no.
Your Tia's vape.
My
vape
Tia
pen,
skills are bad.
I mean, your Tia's vape pen. You don't need to know what this is right now. But anyway, this is.
I had it in my pocket. I didn't know, So I used whatever it was at my hand.
Anyway, it's great. Yeah.
Judge, please.
So your final thoughts
in this, it is educational. You're able to learn a lot from it. Break it down to a 5-year-old, and the editing part too. I lost myself.
Anyway, okay. Well, I'll just jump in real quick. Again, this is not 100% factual, so never anyone who thinks like, oh, this is gonna be history. You watch this, and that hopefully will motivate you to go out there and research and find out more about what happened. And this, to me, takes place during a period of civil rights movement and civil unrest, which, and again, the fact that it's like all these protests and a lot having to do with defund the police or, police brutality and all this. Look at this. This actually happened. Like cops would take their badges and their name tags out. That's stuff that used to happen. And now there's like cameras and it's still kind of happening. So it's interesting. And yeah, I also agree with Steve that hopefully Hollywood and films are able to, no need to throw that Hollywood dust on history, because just try and keep it factual and see if it's going to be entertaining. And you can keep the Hollywood dust to yourself, is what I say. And with that, I'll pass it to Steve. And I gotta leave, so Steve can bring people up to speed on what the next film is gonna go.
Can you stick for like 10 seconds?
Yes, I will.
Okay, because there's a dilemma for next session, because technically is Jason's turn, but he did not watch the movie this week. And then Naomi then will be next, but it's her first time. It's her first time in a long time that she hasn't been here.
I know, it's been a while. Sorry, guys.
So Naomi and Jason are on. Naomi and Jason are on trial right now.
I know.
Basically,
is this a punishment that's happening?
And then technically, because of that, it will be my turn now. But how we're gonna do it is gonna be very creative. This is the first time we ever done this in Oya Cinema Club. I made a list with each person's name associated to a number. I don't get a vote because I made the list and I have it in my hand and you guys can't see it. So you have to pick a number and put it in the chat. That's either 1, 2, or 3. So whenever you're ready, you can pick any number, put it in the chat, and don't send it until I tell you to send it.
Okay.
Oh, I already sent it.
Wait,
You
excuse
already
me.
All right.
messed up.
Go for it. Go for it. Just send it. Everybody send it.
I didn't get Jason's. Oh, I just got Jason's.
Wait, what am I doing?
I sent mine privately by accident.
Okay.
Oh.
I need Naomi and JP.
I sent yours already.
Oh, someone did write that number. I didn't enter it. Fuck.
No, but if that's right, I think the point is which one gets more votes is gonna
Yeah.
get it. So send the number that you were gonna write.
Naomi,
Oh, I still did it.
Naomi, that's not a number.
What, 4?
It's 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, I sent it to everyone also, by the way. You should have explained more before you just say sent it.
It's okay. It's okay. You sent 4, Naomi. It's 1, 2, or 3.
The number 1 to 10. God damn it.
It's 1, 2, or 3.
Woo.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay. Technically, the number
No
that
more
won is number 3, which you can see that I did right here on number 3.
No, I see that.
Lower your envelope.
Jason?
There it is.
Jason.
Hey, Jason!
So
you didn't get
back.
punished. You got
Back on
rewarded.
top.
You got rewarded.
So basically, all of that was for
Baby, I'm
nothing.
back, yeah.
It wasn't all.
You made me sweat. My fucking glasses are all fogged up. God damn it. I'm like,
She's sending number 4s. Jason, so what's next movie?
So next week's pick is Mank.
Nice.
Are you-
I was about to pick that one, but yeah. It's also on Netflix. Are we just going down Netflix
We're
movies?
just doing Netflix movies at the end of the year, I guess.
All right.
okay.
Are you actually gonna watch the film?
I'm going to watch both of them. I'm going to make a movie night.
I didn't do justice to this film. I just recently watched it like a minute ago, you guys, before I
Which
got
one?
in. I said I'm stating that I didn't do justice to this film as I normally would.
I thought you
Take that
did.
out
You-
there.
I
No,
thought you
she's saying
did
because
justice.
she just watched it. That's what she said.
I know, but she had
I
some.
usually take notes and everything, you know what I'm saying?
There you
That
go.
whole shebang.
Well, I do have to head on now. So peace, love, mucho amor.
Mucho amor. Peace out, Dino. Buen provecho. Okay, so next week's movie is Mac on Netflix. Jason's pick. We'll catch you next week for Jason, JP, Naomi, Steve, and D that's gone. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Adios.
Thank you for watching Oye Dímelo Network. Click here for additional videos, and don't forget to subscribe. The lonely singles in your neighborhood already did.